Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit like, follow, or subscribe on the platform that you're listening to us on. You can also check out my work at the loudest.com on the planet, knac.com, for exclusive hard rock and heavy metal interviews, live show coverage, album reviews, and more. My guest for episode 204 is bassist Will Turpin of Collective Soul. Collective Soul have a fantastic new double album out called Here to Eternity through Fuzzy Flex Records, and they are currently on tour with HOOTIE and the Blowfish as part of the Summer Camp with Trucks tour. And here's Will Turpin to tell you more about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about Collective Soul, how would you describe the band's music to me?
I would say, we've always described ourselves as a rock and roll band in the same aspect of the Beatles being a rock and roll band, where, you know, we always saw the Beatles could do, they could do Helter Skelter and bring in the front edge of punk rock kind of, and they could also do something like Long and Winding Road or Let It Be. And so we figure all those aspects, all those things under that umbrella of rock and roll are what we go at. But the Collective Soul, yeah, we're a rock and roll band. We're an eclectic rock and roll band, but we're a rock and roll band.
Your latest album is Here to Eternity. It came out on May 17th through Fuzzy Flex Records. This is quite the ambitious undertaking, 20-song double album. Had you been sitting on a lot of material for a while?
A few of those had been kind of in the works. You know, there was even one that was a live track from tour. Bob Dylan, Ed crushed that acoustic. It's a great song and captured a moment. And so we just left that live. And then there was one like Keep It On Track had started at Ed's house. But for the most part, it was all recorded at Elvis's Palm Springs house. We got in there in January of 2023. That's the bulk of the record. You know, that's where the vibe of the record began. And then at some point during that recording, we were moving along really quick and everything was just flowing smoothly. So at some point during that recording, we really early on, maybe the first week, first 10 days, we realized that we were going to do a double record because we'd always wanted to try to do a double record, just like all of our heroes. You know, just like I mentioned, White Album, Yellow Brick Road. You know, double albums were always significant and special to us, so we wanted to have one for Collective Soul as well.
Now, you mentioned recording the album at Elvis Presley's Palm Spring estate. Not too many bands, actually, no other band is actually recorded here. So how did that opportunity come about? It was a friend of a friend that had purchased the place when it was, you know, real estate in Palm Springs wasn't doing so great. As soon as we found out, we knew the person who owned it, and it had been left. It had been left just like Elvis left it, in somewhat of disrepair. There was some leaks in the roof that, you know, a couple of the bathrooms weren't working, but it was doable. And we took the main living room that had the all glass floor to ceiling look at the pool and then the Palm Springs landscape. We took that room, which is actually where Elvis recorded some of his vocals, in that same room, but we took that room and just transformed it into a band room. And in today's world, when you need computers and you basically just need computers and hard drives, and you can record, you know, top fidelity. If you know what you're doing, you got to kind of know what you're doing. But we pulled in our gear and set the control room up in Lisa Marie's bedroom and had an umbilical of wires going into that living room. Cleaned up the place so we could take pictures and have fun. And yeah, we just dealt with everything that was there. Honestly, I think it was cooler that it was left just like Elvis left it, and things were in disrepair, because it was almost like, oh, this is how Elvis left it. You could still see, like, I mean, his bedroom had the red carpet and the checkered, black and white checkered floor that he used to play music in and party with his friends, and it was all there. All the late 60s architecture and design was all still there. So it made it just feel really cool, nostalgic. And like I said, yeah, you know, it was a bit of a time capsule, but it was very nostalgic. And the vibe suited us, I'll tell you that. Southern boys in Palm Springs, we had a blast. No shut-up televisions, though, right?
No, not yet.
When it comes to songwriting for Collective Soul, does everybody bring in their ideas and you pick and choose from there, or is it sort of like everybody has their role?
Yeah, it's more like everybody kind of has their role, and it depends on the song and who can contribute to what. But with the rock and roll that Collective Soul puts out, I feel like I'm in that bass beginning of construction of the songs when we're putting the rhythm section stuff together and trying to find the real vibe. And that's why we always definitely start recording as a band, with all of us in the room. So we all put in, it depends on what song you're talking about, but it's also, you can't go without saying Ed's prolific songwriting belongs amongst the top of all of our peers, and anything that's happened since the 90s, he's never short of a melody or some lyrics or an idea. And then we all take that and put in our parts and see if we can make it feel right. And if we know when it happens, we know when we stumble onto the correct vibe or the correct feel, then we're on our way. And that's kind of how it goes.
Collective Soul have a single out from the new album, Mother's Love. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how that song came together?
Yeah, Mother's Love was just a great, it's a good classic Collective Soul rock riff, and you build around that. And of course, it's about, growing up in our little towns, we all had very supportive families, and especially our moms. Our moms always took care of us, and we've always said it's one of our secrets is that we all had supportive families, and our parents helped us out a lot when we were younger. So yeah, it's a self-explanatory one, and I thought it was cool. We got to release it, technically released it right on the weekend of Mother's Day. So
you got some special guests on that song. You got Brian Ray from Paul McCartney's band on slide guitar, Peter STROUD from Sheryl Crow, Mickey Thomas from Jefferson Starship. I have to say that was a little bit of a surprise.
He's from Georgia. And he's a friend, and he's also, we're fans of his music as well. But he's a fan of Collective Soul's music. So, we had been befriended and been talking to Mickey for years, and, he has a home in Palm Springs. So as soon as we started recording there, he started hanging out with us. As you can see with the other guests that we have on our records, we love having friends perform and play with us. Peter Stroud's been on a number of our records with us. Brian Ray was just an excellent little thing because he was in Palm Springs. And of course, we're like, hey, come play something for us, man. And he was kind enough to lend his spirit on the record as well. But yeah, Mickey, man, what a great vocal and what a great guy. We love hanging out with him. And it's a blessing.
Bluer Than So Blue, that's going to be the next single. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that one?
Yeah, man, that one starts out with me and Johnny on, the rhythm section kind of creates this nice little groove. It's another one that, I hear people say a lot, oh, that reminds me of vintage Collective Soul. And I don't really catch that all the time as far as I don't really agree with what songs remind people of certain things, which is the beautiful thing of art. Their opinion is their opinion. It's all valid. But for me, Bluer Than So Blue does remind me a little bit of something we recorded, maybe for the self-titled Blue record. It reminds me a little bit of some of that stuff. And I was really able to conjure up a little bit of some ideas and style that I would have used on that Blue record. And turned out that, and it turns out the name of the song is also Bluer Than So Blue. But lots of blues we're talking about here. But yeah, man, it's another really good rock song. We're performing it live right now. Also, it's one I'm proud of.
Well, let's talk about Collective Soul on tour. You're out there with Hootie and the Blowfish on the Summer Camp with Trucks tour. You got Edwin McCain as well out there, and Bare Naked Ladies on select stops. How's it going so far?
Oh, it's great. It's really hard for us to lose when you're talking about Edwin McCain and Hootie and the Blowfish. You're talking about three bands, when you include Collective Soul, that all met 30 years ago. Us and Hootie had our first record in 94, and we all were signed to Atlantic Records. It's a little, nostalgia, I guess, is kind of the word of the day, because it's great to be here. We've all been friends through all these years. We've all supported each other. We've seen each other at some of our best and some of our worst times, but there's a lot of love here, and the crowd seemed to really enjoy the different, slightly different styles. It's all rock and roll, but slightly different styles of all three bands. Yet you can tell we come together, and you can tell that there's something cohesive about the tour. So we're having a blast out here.
What are your thoughts on sort of these big stadium baseball field shows versus kind of like the intimate club settings? How do you feel about the nuances between the two?
Yeah, I love them both. It's not one or the other. I like them both. It's just they're different. When you've got a room, let's say a theater that holds 3,000 people, and it's sold out, it's a little more. You can get people to hang on every note just a little more. They're listening. That crowd, that crowd really wanted to get in there and get those tickets that sold out, and so I think they're hanging on every note just a little more. I can feel it. That brings the total energy up a little bit. It is definitely an energy transfer between audience and band. There's something tangible there that you can feel when you're a musician, and I think audience members feel it as well. That's why people are so attracted to live music, or some people are. But if I had to say, I prefer a theater, but also I love the amphitheaters and the bigger shows because we make more money. So, it's an honor to what a lifetime achievement to be able to say we played Fenway Park last week. That was only 5 days ago. We were at Fenway Park, and then that's just a lifetime kind of bucket list kind of thing, So it's not one or the other, but they are different, and depending on the evening, we're going to go at either one of them with the same gusto.
So while you were at Fenway Park, did you get to take in a little bit of the nostalgia of the Boston Red Sox while you're there?
Yeah, and I've seen some Sox games before at Fenway. We do get to tour, and on days off is one of the favorite things that we find to do is go to see ball games. But of course, man, it's just everywhere. Some of these things we get to do, whether it's Elvis's house or Fenway Park, it's like, wow, man. The DNA and the vibe and the essence of that place is alive and well, and we just feel fortunate to be able to be a part of it.
Collective Soul is celebrating 30th anniversary. What do you attribute to the band's longevity?
We started out as youngsters. We came from a studio, my father's studio, reel to reel. We had a little bit of an acumen of serve the song, write great music, play great music, and the rest will take care of itself. And I remember us saying that to each other. We just wanted to create great music, and we wanted to be known for our music. And I think that's where our longevity kind of springs from, is the strength in the songs. And then you'd be remiss without mentioning the fact that we grew up together. We knew each other. I don't have a memory without knowing who Ed and Dean were and are. We grew up together. Our parents were friends of each other's, whether we were friends or not. So it's a true small town story in that regard, that we are really friends. And, we don't not necessarily call each other first day off tour and decide to go hang out. But but we do enjoy each other's time, and we do love each other, and then we love our time on stage. At this point, every time we're on stage, it feels like a celebration.
We're gonna go back 30 years here. The first time I saw Collective Soul, you were opening for Van Halen on the Balance tour back in 94, 95-ish. You were
95.
You were supporting your debut album, hence Allegations and Things Left Unsaid. Actually, my first concert ever. Tell me about your experience on that particular tour.
Yeah, that particular tour kind of changed our trajectory, honestly. We were in the studio kind of finishing up the second record, and Ed came back to the control room and said, we're wrapping up pretty quick and going on tour with Van Halen. So it started there. Man, they really took us under their wing. We weren't treated like peers in the music industry. We were treated like little brothers. It was like brothers. Man, they showed us the ropes. And then on top of that, they treated us like friends and brothers. And we still have those friendships today. Every time we see Michael and Sammy, it's definitely smiles and a lot of camaraderie there. We still talk to them all the time. Heck, Sammy got us to play his 60th birthday. We headlined his 60th birthday about 14 years ago. We've always kept in contact with him since then. Eddie couldn't have been cooler to all of us. He was in our dressing room almost every day. I still own things that he gave me, and he helped us out in all kinds of ways. We after a while we knew we could trust him after a few weeks, and we asked him for guidance on a few important things in business, and he was more than happy to do it. And then his wisdom was on par, and it taught us a lot, and it, like I said, it changed our trajectory in ways I don't think we can even all understand. But that tour was still, we're talking about 30 years later, still one of the things that remains one of the strengths and things that we were lucky to have done as a band in Collective Soul is hang out with Van Halen for 3 months. It changed everything for us.
Also, 30 years ago or so, Collective Soul was the one of the featured acts at Woodstock 94. You also returned in 99. What was your experience at the 94 Woodstock?
Yeah, 94 was literally oh yeah, peace, love. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. It was beautiful. Rolling hills. We performed on Friday night. The rain came in early Saturday morning, so it was gorgeous when we played Friday night with a lot of first time record release artists were on that same bill with us on Friday night. Sheryl Crow live, Candlebox, Blues Traveler. Everybody was on Friday night. King's X was on Friday night too, which that would have been one of my favorite bands in the world and still is. But I was in awe to see them play. But yeah, Friday night was beautiful. 94, and then 99. As you've seen the documentary and as you saw in real time, 99 was tangibly different. The day we got on site in 99, I was like, "Oh, this is not Woodstock 94." But and it kind of blew up in their face. But yeah, they were both great, and what great opportunities those were.
Yeah, I think that Woodstock 94 and 99 can be summed up in 94 was the mud one and 99 was the corporate greed one. Yeah,
it was all corporate greed. Let's subsidize and sell everything out. And then the people who were underneath them were just doing a terrible job. But, and then on top of that, the first thing I noticed when we got there was like, oh, you're putting everybody on a black tarmac. This is not pretty. This is not what Woodstock 94 was. But, it got worse from there.
Yeah, I think we've all seen that documentary at this point. You mentioned
how many groups played both 94 and 99?
I think it's just you.
I know Sheryl Crow did also. I can't remember who else. Red Hot Chili Peppers also. There was only a handful that played both of them. But
okay,
I'd like to know. I can't remember exactly how many there were. Maybe 3, 4, something like that.
I'm sure nobody will be lining up if they try to do another one.
No, it's that they talked about it for 2024. Last year they were talking about it because that would have been 50 years. This year would have been 50 years. Is that right? Or no, 45 years.
Yeah.
45 years. So yeah, it's not. And people will be talking about it again for 50, and we'll see if anybody steps up. But nobody's ready to jump into that right now.
You mentioned earlier your studio, Reel to Reel. Are you mainly an owner? Do you work there? Do you produce? What do you do there?
I tell people it's an amazing studio, but I tell people it's a little more of a production house. Almost everything that comes through there is productions of my production company, Real People Music. So yeah, Reel to Reel Studios in Georgia. It's man, I've renovated the place. I've poured some love into it. My kids are older now. My youngest has graduated high school. I always found time to produce a band or two every 3 years or so. But now the times have changed and my father's no longer with us. I took over ownership, reimagined the space, and man, we got all kind of productions coming out of there. Bands from all over the country are stepping in to work with us. And yeah, look it up, man. Reel to Reel Studios. It's technically the oldest studio in Jonesboro. My dad, that's the studio Collective Soul came from, and my dad opened it up in 1976. The location we're at now was built in 2002, but the on the books, we're the oldest one in Georgia.
Now, I saw a social media posting that the Turpin brothers were working on an album. They looked a little young to be you, and your brother, so I would assume that they're your kids.
Yeah, that's my boys. Yes, sir.
Are they into your style of music, or they got like their own modern thing?
It's definitely their style, but like I always tell everybody, one of my worst fears was always that my kids or my children would have bad taste in music, and their style is really cool. And it is their own. It sounds like, it doesn't sound like anybody else. You can hear the influences, but that's one thing I was super proud of, is the fact that the songs are great. The style is great, but it sounds like it could be, hey, who is this? These guys have their own sound. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing those productions get finished. And those I'm not producing. Tristan, my oldest son, is good enough to do it on his own. I'm there to help him. I'm trying to steer him a little bit, but I can't be there the whole time with them. They would probably go nuts if I was there the whole time.
You have your own sound too. I was listening to your solo effort, Serengeti Drivers. It came out in 2018, a little different than Collective Soul. Are you planning to follow that up at some point?
Yeah, I still have songs that are pouring out of me. So I'm working on a list right now of possible album tracks. And yeah, I'm planning on trying to get in there in the fall and start it up. I hope to do a lot of pre-planning so it won't take long. In the past, like Serengeti Drivers, I just start out song by song and I see where things go. And it took about 2 years to put that thing together. I'd hope to maybe do a lot of pre-planning, pre-production, and get this next one done maybe in 6 months. Maybe get your boys to do a guest spot on one of the songs? Yes, for sure. Luke is a drummer. I definitely would like to have him on there. He's an excellent drummer. Tristan and Jude are both really good with their instruments and their style as well. So I would definitely use them when it seems appropriate on a certain song, because I just think that adds to it. I think that adds to the quality and the vibe of the songs.
About 8 months ago, I talked to Dean Roland about actually the Vibrating album and you guys stepping out on tour. He mentioned the upcoming double album, Here to Eternity, but he also said you guys have a lot more music than that. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I mean, Collective Soul, like I said, we came from a studio, and it's like, I know a lot of our peers don't feel like creating as much, but some of them do still create. And we're one of the groups that, it doesn't matter, where we are in our career, we still have to create. And we currently are doing so right now. We're already thinking about what we could be doing next.
Well, like you said, prior to our interview kicking off, it's good to be busy, right?
It is. It's good to be busy, and we do love what we do, and we feel fortunate. And we tell the audience every night, as part of our show every night, we appreciate the people for allowing us to, do what we love for 30 years now. Here to Eternity is still on the top 20 Billboard charts right now, and that marks 4 decades that Collective Soul's been on the charts. And that's who we send all the thanks to is the fans.
And those are all the questions I have for you today. Will, the new Collective Soul album, Here to Eternity, out now, Fuzzy Flex Records. I'm a longtime fan, another great album, and I wish you the best of luck with it. And thank you for taking the time to speak with me about it today.
Yeah, cheers, George. Thank you for your time as well, man. Good luck with everything.
Once again, I want to thank Will Turpin of Collective Soul for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, Here to Eternity, out now through Fuzzy Flex Records. Head over to your favorite music streaming platform, take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy, support the artist. For all things Collective Soul, head over to their official website, collectivesoul.com. I also want to thank Amanda Kagan at ABC PR for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.